the new theater of the mind. The Clown Prince of Doom. The Bruce Collins Show, daring to take radio past the point of no return.
And welcome back to the Bruce Collins Show. We're very glad to have you join us. The Bruce Collins Show airs every Friday night at midnight right here at WWPR 1490 AM. You can listen to past archives of the Bruce Collins Show at ipbn-fm.com. That's ipbn-fm.com. There's a banner just for the Bruce Collins Show on the Intrepid Paradigm Broadcasting Network website. Click on the show banner and you will go right to our page. We would appreciate it if you're able to spread the word for our show by word of mouth, social media, or in whatever creative way you can. Also, we have a Facebook page for the Bruce Collins Show. Please like us there. And you can email the show at bruce_collins_show@AOL.com. Drop us a line. Let us know how you're doing. The Bruce Collins Show also has a YouTube channel. Visit YouTube, search for the Bruce Collins Show channel, subscribe, and catch all the latest shows on YouTube. And now let me introduce my co-host, Chad Miles. He is a former congressional candidate in Michigan and a military veteran and is the founder and webmaster at Conspiria.net. Find out what all the talk is about Conspiria.net. Go there tonight, Conspiria.net. You can also find out more information on Chad at chadmiles.com. He's radio's lethal weapon, Chad Miles. Welcome back to the program, Chad.
Hey, Bruce Collins.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm talking to Bruce Collins.
I know, that's hard to believe.
It's crazy.
You know, I went to a therapist recently, and they were telling me that I actually have this issue where I can't remember the 70s very well at all. In fact, I blocked out that whole period of time when people used to wear polyester suits and polyester clothing. He says I suffer from Polynesia. Now, what have you been up to lately, Chad?
You know, I still get the weird feeling that the NSA is spying on our show.
I'd say they consider you a lost cause by now.
What have you been up to, Bruce?
Did I ever tell you that when I was a child, I wanted to be a private investigator?
No, you didn't. Did your parents encourage that?
My legal name is Barnaby Jones Collins. Need I say more?
Whoa. The less you say, the better.
Yeah. I used to have a giant magnifying glass, in addition to my corrective lenses.
Really? Did you handle any cases?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. I solved the mystery of my grandfather's missing dentures.
Really? Where did you find them?
In his mouth. Why? Where did your grandparents keep their dentures? On second thought, I don't want to know.
Did you solve any other cases?
I figured out Santa Claus wasn't real.
Well, for you, I'd say that's probably a major accomplishment.
Thank you. By the way, I've seen pictures of you with ducks, and I know you go hunting, and you're like a wild man. You're like a wild man of the Ozarks, or you're like a regular Grizzly Adams, aren't you?
No, that's just the way people live when they're outside of the big city, that's all.
Okay. Well, like me, then, do you buy bread at the store?
Sometimes we make our own bread.
How much do you pay?
No, I said we make it.
So you don't pay for loaves of bread?
No.
How much would you charge me if you made me a loaf of bread, Chad?
Well, I'm not shipping bread to your house. You live all the way out in California.
Well, how do you make it?
Well, I get a bunch of dough.
You get a bunch of dough? I thought you didn't pay for it.
No, I'm talking about dough.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You're talking in circles. Anyway, you buy your bread with dough, and then what do you do?
The more dough I have, the more I need it.
The more dough you have, the more you need it. That's same with me. I need more dough so I can buy more bread. So are you saying you're greedy?
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about money. I need the dough.
I need the dough too, Chad, so I can go buy bread.
I'm not buying bread. I'm needing it.
You're speaking English, but you're not making any sense. You need dough. I need dough. So we both can buy our bread.
No. Okay. I make my own, and I knead the dough before I put it in the oven.
I knead the dough before I go to the grocery store.
You make your own bread too?
No, I don't. I don't know what you're trying to pull, but this isn't very funny.
Just like bread, you seem to be getting a little crusty.
I know one thing. I'll never talk money with you again, Chad.
We weren't talking about money.
Well, if that wasn't confusing enough, Chad and I will return with the news in a moment. And welcome back to the Bruce Collins Show. As we said before the break, it's on to the news. And not just any kind of news. This is the Bruce Collins Show news, which is a little bit different from the norm. So if you listen to your local news, if you listen to your national news, that's all fine and dandy. But then turn on your radio, turn on your internet, go to ipbn-fm.com or go to WWPR 1490 AM on Friday nights and listen to the Bruce Collins Show news. Little Big Schwag imitation there. And joining me once again is Chad Miles. Chad Miles, radio's lethal weapon. Welcome back with the news. How are you doing?
This is special edition Bruce Collins news.
That's right.
You won't hear this anywhere else, unless you go to these individual news sources and find all these stories. But the odds of that are pretty low.
Or if you go to the archive, you'll hear it again.
And again and again and again. Just like the whimsical premise of the iconic movie Groundhog Day, that someone can wake up every day believing it is the previous day, has largely come to life for a patient of a British psychologist writing recently in the Journal of Neurocase. Dr. Gerald Burgess's patient, following anesthesia and root canal treatment, was left with a memory span of only about 90 minutes and awakens each day believing it is the day he is to report for the same root canal. Ugh. He has been examined by numerous specialists, including neurologists who found no ostensible damage to the usual brain areas associated with amnesia. The patient is able to manage his day only by using an electronic diary with prompts.
Wow.
And this is from the University of Leicester
Press
release.
Yes, he has amnesia and I have polynesia, as we learned in the first segment. So he shows up at the same dentist's office every day.
For a root canal.
Sits down.
Every day he thinks he's going to have a root canal.
Reads the magazines, and the dentist says, "Nurse, call the police." I wonder how they get him out of there. Do they call the police, or do they just tell him, "Your appointment's been canceled"?
That's just horrible.
Show up tomorrow.
Do they pull up his electronic diary and show him, wait, this isn't your root canal appointment day?
They grab a mirror and they pry open his lips and they show him that his root canal's already taken place.
Have you ever had a root canal?
No.
I have. And it's not fun.
No.
And I can't believe this man goes every day thinking he's going to have one.
Yeah. Well, now, every 90 minutes he forgets, so you'd think he'd be showing up to the dentist every 90 minutes.
But it's almost like his memory reverts back to the root canal appointment.
Yeah, so he sort of, every 90 minutes, he sort of knows, tomorrow I'm going to the dentist.
Wow.
But then he doesn't remember once it's taken place that he's gone to the dentist.
That's bizarre.
That is bizarre.
That's bizarre. Moving on.
Or as OMD once said, wasn't it OMD? How bizarre. How bizarre.
How bizarre. How bizarre. How bizarre. That used to be the intro to that show, Bizarre Foods.
I don't know that.
But they changed it. But anyway, okay.
Did they need dough on that show?
They need a lot of dough on that show to make it better. A shortage of teachers led Howard S. Billings High School in Quebec, Canada. Is it Quebec or Quebec?
I'd say Quebec, but I don't know.
I would say, I said Quebec, but maybe it's Quebec. I think it depends on if you're an Anglophone or a Francophone. Not to be confused with a sousaphone or a xylophone.
Or a Frankfurter.
Yeah. A shortage of teachers led Howard S. Billings High School in Quebec, Canada, to announce that 11th grade French classes would this year be conducted using only the Rosetta Stone computer program. That's from CTV News in Montreal, Canada.
So now all the students know how to say 3 easy payments in French.
Yeah, Rosetta Stone's not cheap.
Yeah. I know how to say oui, oui.
Hey,
for many
Bruce,
reasons.
If you're an American when you go into the bathroom, and you're an American when you leave the bathroom, what are you in between?
A European.
That's from my elementary school days.
Uh-oh.
Repertoire
You weren't taking
jokes.
Rosetta Stone classes?
Yeah, we were advanced.
Yeah. Who's your teacher this year? Her first name is Rosetta.
This is Rosetta. Can I use the bathroom?
Every student now knows in French how to say, turn over the CD.
Lindsay Perkins pleaded guilty in June in Newport, Vermont, for an incident in which she joy rode on the roof of a station wagon with her 5-year-old son while a 20-year-old man drove at 50 to 55 miles per hour on the state's scenic Route 14 near Coventry. Mother of the Year.
Yeah. Calling that lady a moron would be an insult to morons.
That's right.
I mean, it's bad enough that she was up there, but she had her 5-year-old son on top of the
going
car.
55 miles per hour.
And here's another one of those conundrums. They gave the age of the son. They gave the age of the 20-year-old man. Granted, they didn't say what his name is, but they didn't give the woman's age.
That's right.
That's sexist.
Yeah. Showing favoritism.
Yeah. Lindsay Perkins.
Lindsay Perkins.
I don't know how old she was, but, I don't think I would trust a 20-year-old man to drive, if I was her, to drive 50 miles an hour and think that she's going to be okay on top of it.
And I'm guessing drugs and alcohol was involved.
Yeah.
Crazy.
If I ever wake up on top of the roof of a station wagon going 55 miles an hour, I wouldn't exactly call that a joyride.
Excuse me, Lindsay Perkins. No. Call me the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I would say that's like not the joyride. That would be the panic of my life.
Yeah, that 5-year-old is going to remember that well into his old age.
Yeah, if they stopped the car, I'd have Giorgio Tsoukalos's hair. What's left of it?
Are you saying aliens were involved, Bruce?
That's right.
I guess I just did say the
man.
Silver Surfer. We're both implying aliens.
Yeah, can you imagine driving by that, though, and seeing that? Some lady.
Right.
What
I have
would
a
you
feeling
do?
that's how the police found out.
I mean, I would call the cops, but it's like, then again, here in California, at least, we can't call on a cell phone while we're driving. So you just have to kind of watch.
Is it illegal in California to call someone on a cell phone?
While you're driving, yes.
Really?
Yes, you will be ticketed. That is a no-no.
Wow.
Unless you have a Bluetooth, then you're okay. But if you have it in your hand while you're driving, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of crazy laws here in California.
That's right. Yes, you do. Hey, we should do a crazy California law show.
Yeah, that would take 3 hours.
I was going to say we might have to do multiple shows for that.
I think we would. Once people heard all the laws, it would drive them into joyriding on top of a 20-year-old man's station wagon.
Out of California.
That's right. Out of California.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lindsay. You just gave us a lot of things to talk about.
Now,
there.
does she actually qualify as a stupid criminal?
I think on a technicality, yes.
Yes.
I think bad parent, mostly.
Horrible parent.
But I guess stupid criminal, yeah.
Unbelievable. You just can't believe that.
That's crazy.
That's very dangerous.
At a charity event in Philadelphia in July, in the course of attempting to set a Guinness...
I know where this is going.
Yeah, I read this before the show. Let me see if I can get through this. At a charity event in Philadelphia in July, in the course of attempting to set a Guinness Book record for pogo stick workouts, Jack Sexty,
Which is funny in and of itself.
Right, Sexty, that is his name, Jack Sexty, age 25, bounced 88,047 straight times over a 10-hour, 20-minute session.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
To add to his several previous Guinness records. Sexty, who said he was physically uncomfortable at times during the 10-hour ordeal.
You think?
Suggested that he may have inadvertently set yet another pogo record. As maybe the only person ever to answer a number 2 call of nature. I'm not making this up, folks.
Ugh.
Number 2 call of nature while pogoing. This is the sentence that I don't know if I can read. He explained that a guy had offered to hold a pot underneath him as he jumped
man.
and did his business.
Now that's a fan.
Can I hold a pot under you? Mr. Sexty.
But Sexty confessed. You don't say that every day. But Sexty confessed. I couldn't be very accurate aiming for the pot.
Oh, man.
It's from the Bristol Post, Bristol, England. Oh, I'm sorry, he's British. I couldn't be accurate aiming for the pot.
Yeah. Oh, boy. The first pogo poop in history.
It's 10 hours.
And by a man with the last name Sexty.
Sexty.
You couldn't make this stuff up.
Did he not think that, number 1, he would have to go to the bathroom within the 10-hour window?
So he admits to doing it. So did, like, the back of his pants start to look funny?
And he obviously didn't stop, right?
Right.
Because he did 88,000 times in 10 hours.
Yeah.
And he bounced 88,047 straight times.
Yeah, and I don't get it.
So that implies he never stopped.
Right.
Over the 10-hour, 20-minute period.
Right.
So when did he go? Hour number 2?
I don't know.
Couldn't have been. Hour number 5?
And it
Hour
says
number 7?
He may have, quote, inadvertently. Like there's some question that he just let loose.
And how inadvertent is it if somebody's asking to hold a pot under you?
Yeah, it must have been obvious, right? Does anybody smell shake and bake?
Mr. Sexty, you've got a problem in your britches.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's terrible.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Scott Burke, 31, was arrested in New Berlin, Wisconsin in July, thanks to a big boost the police got from his 6-year-old daughter. Now, this is a stupid criminal.
Yeah, but a smart daughter.
Smart daughter, stupid criminal. A Walmart security guard noticed on video someone breaking into a jewelry case and pocketing earrings, and approached Burke as a suspect, in time to overhear the girl tell her dad several times to stop breaking into jewelry cases. Officers running an ID check found no driver's license and asked how he had gotten to the store, and he said they walked. But Daddy, she said, this is his daughter, we came in our car, and she cheerfully pointed it out to police. A search turned up more items stuffed in Burke's shorts.
Oh,
and he was charged with theft and violating a previous bail condition. And that was in Milwaukee.
Obviously, his daughter wasn't coached.
Right.
And it says items were stuffed in his shorts. Coincidentally, items were stuffed in Sexty's shorts, too. There seems to be a reoccurring theme this week.
Summer is state fair season, i.e. the time of sugar and fried fat-based comfort snacks that rarely appear anywhere except state fairs. Recent samplings are caviar-covered Twinkies in Minnesota.
Wow, they must be really upscale in Minnesota.
Yeah, really.
You know, I've never
caviar-covered
I've
Twinkie.
never had caviar.
I haven't either.
It sounds gross.
It does sound gross.
Anyway, caviar-covered Twinkie.
Fish eggs. It's fish eggs.
Yeah.
Ugh. Mac, I like eggs. I just don't think I would like fish eggs.
Yeah.
How would you like your caviar, sir? Over easy?
On a Twinkie.
On a Twinkie, of course.
Lovey, we're having a caviar-covered Twinkie for
Caviar
dessert.
Twinkies.
Yeah.
Oh, caviar Twinkie. Mac and cheese cupcakes, also in Minnesota. Deep fried Oreo burger in Florida. That's a heart attack just
That's
waiting
gross.
to happen. Heart attack and diabetes at the same time.
It doesn't even sound good.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Deep fried
gummy bears. That's supposedly in Ohio, but I've never heard of them. Deep fried beer in Texas. And old favorites such as chicken fried bacon in Texas, spaghetti ice cream in Indiana, Krispy Kreme chicken sandwich in California. That actually sounds kind of good.
I don't know.
And the hot beef sundae in Indiana, Iowa. Indiana, Iowa. That's kind of, or maybe that's Indiana and Iowa.
So that's all at the state fairs around the country. I can
Yes.
see the slogan now. Come to the fair, eat garbage, ride the roller coaster, and puke on your way out.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That sounds pretty. Now, which of these would you eat, Chad? First, caviar-covered Twinkie. Would you try one of them?
Nope.
Mac and cheese cupcake.
No.
You know, if it tasted like macaroni and cheese, I'm okay with that. But cupcake, I don't know what that.
Yeah.
Deep fried Oreo burger.
I'd try it.
I don't know what that would be. Do you eat it in a hamburger bun? Oreo
Is
burger?
Are they like big Oreo cookies as the bun?
I don't know.
Like on the top and the bottom?
I don't know. Deep fried gummy bears?
No.
I don't drink beer, so deep fried beer I wouldn't be. I don't know if you drink that or eat it.
I don't know. How do you deep fry beer?
Yeah, chicken fried bacon? Chicken fried bacon. How would you chicken fry bacon? Put a skin on it?
Would you roll it in
Chicken?
some kind of batter?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess spaghetti ice cream, that sounds really gross.
No. Yeah.
Especially if it's Chef Boyardee spaghetti ice cream.
Oh, I hate SpaghettiOs.
I hate Chef Boyardee. I think that's the worst. To even name it after a chef is like, it almost seems sacrilegious. But I know you would eat the Krispy Kreme chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I would definitely try that.
And I don't know, hot beef sundae, that does not sound good at all.
That doesn't sound good to me either.
What's going to happen next year? Joe Biden roadkill? I don't know.
Donald Trump deep fried Donald Trump toupee.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Former British Navy sailor Alan Reynolds, 55, of Port Helena, England, I think that's how you pronounce it, was convicted in April of a burglary in which he stole items from the home of a colleague to pursue his fetish for waterproof clothing.
Okay.
To enrich his fantasy, he told a judge, of imagining himself a prisoner of war. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Photos and videos taken from his home show him in bright yellow waterproof trousers and a green waterproof poncho, removing layers of clothing from underneath and smelling them.
Oh, wow.
This guy has issues.
Yeah.
Serious
Can
issues.
you imagine, Chad, coming home and you hear something in your closet and you open it up and you catch this guy in your closet sweet talking your rubber umbrella?
Sniffing your raincoat.
Yeah. Yeah. Smelling your raincoat or your rubber boots.
People are so weird.
Yeah. How
Have
does
people
that
always been
how
this
does that
weird and we
work?
just never knew it?
Yeah.
And now because of the internet we hear about it?
Yeah.
Do
I don't
you
know.
think?
I don't know, because where does that come from? I mean,
I don't know.
there's obviously a spiritual issue there, but it's like where would that, like, what kind of, you would think there's like some kind of a payoff there, I guess, but what would it,
I mean, I'm just wondering, like I said, do you think people are getting stranger? And you alluded to a spiritual thing. I think that's absolutely right. Do you think that's kind of, as more and more people move away from God and this stuff kind of moves in? I mean, do you think that we're at a point in history where there's just more weirdos around?
I would venture to guess that's true. I don't have any, analytical or statistical proof of that.
No hard data.
Yeah, but I would venture to guess that's true. I know that have always been people with problems, but I don't know if I've never heard of this particular fetish issue. And so what does he do? He takes the stuff home and he just pretends he's locked up in his house, or is he a prisoner?
I don't know. It's like this guy, and remember we talked about the guy with the hair fetish before?
Yeah.
It's like, what is that?
Now, if he imagines himself as a prisoner of war, could it be that he is experiencing sort of like a flashback type scenario, or I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Well, it says he was in the British Navy.
Yeah, but it doesn't say he was prisoner of war, and he's only 55, so yeah, I don't know. Strange.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
How bizarre.
And then there are people that try to pogo for 10 hours when they have to go to the bathroom. And make other people watch.
He pogoed. First of all, I can't pogo for more than probably 3 seconds.
Yeah, without having to go to the
4.
bathroom.
And he went for 10 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
10 hours and 20 minutes on a pogo stick. That's insane.
It is.
And it's no wonder he had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Could you imagine going up and down and the pounding your
and
your lower intestine would take?
And he's the sanest one of the bunch. That's what's scary.
So far, he is. Okay. Hey, in June, police in Roseville, Minnesota, quickly located J&J Construction's missing equipment trailer, stolen from a work site, parked near the Washington County Courthouse, where the thief apparently had left it while he answered a court summons. WCCO-TV reported that the man was soon jailed on a separate charge.
Oh, on a separate charge, but not that one. There's nothing like parking the evidence in front of the courthouse, to plead your innocence.
I love stupid criminals.
Yeah.
They're so funny.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. That's crazier than pogo sticking for 10 hours and 20 minutes.
That's right. I think so.
Did you know Cy Allen was arrested in March?
No. He's not on Duck Dynasty, is he?
No, he's not. Not to be
different...
confused with Uncle Cy. Is that his? I've never seen that show.
Yes.
He was arrested in March in Colchester, England, on suspicion of possessing drugs with intent to sell. Relied on a fairly common strategy. As officers burst into the room, he swallowed the evidence.
Yeah.
As in other drug cases, police decided to wait for nature to take its course. So they put him on a pogo stick.
That's right, for 10 hours.
No,
and he pooped in his pants.
That's not in the story. Nature to take its course.
One of the officers held a pot.
Drugs.
One of the officers held a pot underneath him.
The recovery took us around 4 hours, but it was fairly productive.
But he warned them that he didn't have a very good aim.
He inadvertently gave up the evidence.
Yeah.
Unlike in the other cases, Allen managed to hold out with no bowel. Listen to this. With no bowel movement for 23 days.
Wow, how is that possible?
But not a 24th. He was arrested.
Wow.
23 days.
Without a bowel movement.
And Mr. Sexty couldn't go for 10 hours.
Yeah, how is that possible? You could not drink water and kind of constipate yourself, but how do you hold it in for... He must have been in pain for like the last week.
That's great. 23 days.
Yeah, how do you do that? I've never done that. I can barely last a day.
Right. He obviously did not drink coffee for 23 days.
I don't even need a pogo stick.
See, that's what they needed. The police needed to contact Mr. Sexty and borrow his pogo stick, and he would have not lasted for 23 days.
Yeah. Or they could have planted the evidence inside his poop.
What?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about at this point.
Moving on.
That's not Sexty Spoop. That's Cy Allen's.
Wait a minute.
Hey, Chad, here's another story. Actually, this is the last story of the night, and this is a weird one, too. A disturbing one, at least. Reuters reported in early July that a big loser in the nuclear pact between Iran and 6 world powers was the brothel industry of Vienna, Austria, which hosted that final round. With so many male, mostly diplomats in town for 2 stressful months, business had been robust, especially compared to the previous round in notoriously expensive Lucerne, Switzerland. And that's from Reuters, July 5th. So, you think these people are going overseas to work on the best interests of the United States, and they're doing this kind of stuff. This reminds me of Obama's Secret Service agents who hired prostitutes in Colombia. Remember that?
Yep.
And it really gives you pause to think about how sleazy our government folks are. And the other thing is, I hope it wasn't taxpayer money.
Yeah, and these are the people who are negotiating this deal with a nuclear deal with Iran, and they're really just a bunch of scumbags. And I gotta think most of these guys are married.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the type of people that we have that are in the diplomat corps and just who are making policy decisions and treaty decisions.
Yeah, and we talk about conspiracies once in a while, and I go back and forth on some of this stuff, to be perfectly honest. But it makes you so skeptical to read something like this, because it's almost as if all these world powers, and maybe even the Iranians too, after hours were all kind of like, hey, let's go over to the brothel, the red light area or whatever. And so you could say all these countries were literally in bed with each other. But it makes you think, what is really going on? And again, I kind of go in both directions. I'm skeptical that anybody really knows exactly what's going on. But at the same time, you see stuff like this and you go, we're supposed to be the standard. We're supposed to be the ones that are holding a higher moral standard or a moral compass, and we can't even let these diplomats alone by themselves without them breaking some kind of law. And I mean, obviously that is against the law here in the United States. So why would they be able to go to another country and do something like that? And again, who knows that this could actually be our money that they're using and expensing to behave like this. It's outlandish.
And if anybody knows anything about this, the espionage that goes on in these places is insane, especially when you have this many diplomats and this many people from different countries who are coming together for these high-level talks. That brothel, I'm sure, was just crawling with spies, crawling. Yeah.
Well, and that's a great point, too, because I remember years ago, people would say, what do the Republicans care that Bill Clinton was doing what he was doing in office with Monica Lewinsky and all of this stuff? And I'm thinking, do you know how easy it would have been for a foreign power to have blackmailed him? Meanwhile, most of the citizens of the United States didn't even know what was going on in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
And there are some rumors that actually did happen. But I'm not aware that did happen, but that obviously could set our country up for major blackmailing.
Well, that's been a lot of speculation surrounding Chief Justice John Roberts and some of the decisions that he's made over the last few years. And some people kind of speculate that he may be the victim, so to speak, of some kind of a blackmail, or somebody might have some information about him that they're using to their benefit.
Oh, I never heard that. You and I are going to have to talk after the show, Chad.
Sure.
All right, folks, you've heard the news this week. You won't hear it anywhere else, but you may hear it twice if you listen to the archive. Chad, thank you so much once again for your excellent news.
It's always a pleasure.
And we'll be right back in a moment. Brad Olsen's passion for writing goes far beyond his book publishing business or the online content he produces. His books have reached a wide audience across the country and have won numerous awards. His work has been reviewed in top publications, and he continues to lecture nationwide on various subjects. He has appeared on dozens of television and nationally syndicated radio shows over the course of 2 decades. Yet for all the fanfare, Brad Olsen likes to spend time with his friends and family while attempting to be outdoors as much as possible. Although the professional task of book publishing occupies most of his year, Brad Olsen is also the founder and event producer of the How Weird Street Fair in San Francisco, the city where he currently resides. Brad Olsen has appeared on Ancient Aliens and America Unearthed. He also has written articles in Ancient American Magazine, plus several of his own books about sacred destinations from around the world. So you were on America Unearthed discussing the Waubansee Stone. Hopefully I pronounced that right. What does this thing look like?
Well, the producers told me to pronounce it Waubansee.
Okay.
So that's how they went with it. And, I used to call it Waubansee. That weighs over 500 pounds, and it's kind of reddish in color. And geologists tell us it rolled all the way down from the Lake Superior region during the ice ages that once enveloped all of the Midwest, all the way down to Illinois. This boulder was left behind. Apparently there was a twin boulder as well, and they were both spaced maybe 1/10 of a mile apart, just long enough to have a tow line to the front and to the back of the boat. And that was supposedly modeled after a chief who lived in the area named Waubansee. Well, that Chief Waubansee originally was friendly to the settlers or the soldiers in Fort Dearborn, where Chicago now resides and towers up. But he then became hostile. And so it seems kind of unlikely that anyone would try to memorialize a chief that was hostile to their expansionist cause. So this stone had been there for a long time. It was even recognized by Louis Joliet and Father Marquette when they were plotting their courses and river routes throughout the whole Midwest for the New France colonies. And it was there in Fort Dearborn, and it was there after the Chicago fire. And it was in the Chicago Historical Society Museum when I went to go see it, but they've since remodeled that and made it the Chicago History Museum and put it into storage. So when we shot last summer the Waubansee Stone episode for America Unearthed, Scott Walter, the host, had to get permission to go to the Chicago Historical Society warehouse and film it, and he wasn't allowed to even disclose that location. They just don't want people to see it anymore, I guess, because mainly it creates quite a historical problem for those who dispute that there was any contact with native people before Columbus, because this would then date it to a people who came to North America far before. So Scott Walter, myself, Wayne May, who publishes Ancient American, all believe it was a Phoenician relic that was left there. Mm-hmm. So that then opens up a big can of worms. What then were the Phoenicians doing in the Midwest of North America, presumably 3,600 years ago? And the answer is they were there for the copper. because up in the Lake Superior region, Isle Royale and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan are literally hundreds of open, ancient copper pit mines, including some of the utensils that were used to get some of the copper out of the ground. And indeed, still today, they excavate copper in the region, as well as many other iron ore and minerals. It's very rich in these kind of things that a mariner group like the Phoenicians would spend a long time to come and get to this location to dig them up and bring them back. And when I give my talks about sacred places in North America, which is based on my book, Sacred Places in North America, I'll often give this example that if you, Bruce, and myself, and let's say 10 of our friends or more, were going on a voyage of discovery, and we had the potential to become very, very wealthy from that trip, there would be a profit motive in it, because in the time of the Phoenicians, this was still the Bronze Age, and copper was the main alloy to create the weapons, the shields, the spear points, the tools that were used during the time of Homer when he described these bronze instruments. So it would have been a very, very valuable resource to have, and worth risking life and limb to collect it. So certainly there was a profit motive. How they got there is the big question. But when I was working on Sacred Places North America, I followed the route. And it's basically the water route that the Vikings took, and the Chaldee monks and others who came here before Columbus, which was the northern route. You take the stepping stones from Britain and Ireland up to the Orkney Islands, Hebrides Islands, Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, to the coast of Canada, the Labrador coast, and then you catch the Labrador Current right down to New England. But if they were heading inland, they would take the St. Lawrence Seaway up until Lake Ontario. And then there's one big barrier to continue on the water route at the other end of Lake Ontario. You know what that is?
What's that?
Niagara Falls. Pretty hard to get a boat up over that. So what they did is they took the Trent Severn Waterway, and this is what I traced when I was working on this book. It is a series of lakes and streams, and now it's locks and dams, and it is a very important trade route between Lake Huron and Lake Ontario. So to pull a dry, empty boat up the Niagara Escarpment to get into Lake Huron would be fairly easy, but if it was heavily laden, that's not the case. So that is how it all ties into the Waubansee Stone, because the water route to get out with a heavily laden boat full of copper would be through Chicago. And where we filmed the episode of America Unearthed was a place called the Chicago Portage, and it's now a historical national park because it's there where the south branch of the Chicago River came to a place called Mud Lake. And during the springtime, when the water levels were high, it was actually possible to get a heavily laden boat all the way through this Mud Lake swampy area and into the Des Plaines River. Then from the Des Plaines River, it's all downstream to the Illinois River, to the Mississippi, and then out to the Gulf of Mexico. So they would have had to have paused to outfit their boat for narrow river travel when they got to the banks of the Chicago River. And it's there that the grisly practice of infant sacrifice likely took place on this very Waubansee Stone, because if I were to describe it to you, it has a bowl-shaped top on the boulder large enough to fit an infant in, and then there's a drainage through the stone that actually comes out of the mouth of the face that's carved into the stone. And what's more, the mouth drains into another cup which is part of the man's goatee. Well, Native Americans weren't known to have facial hair, let alone a long goatee, just like the Phoenicians wore, and a big flat face with closed eyes and pursed lips. So it appears to be a pagan shrine that was used for infant sacrifice some 3,000 to 4,000 years ago.
Interesting. So one thing that I've found in this topic is that I've interviewed Frank Joseph, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
And I find that there seems to be a lot of ancient artifacts that prove that ancient civilizations were here in the Americas that we don't know about. Is that what your research finds?
Yes, we both would agree that there is what we call Smithsonian Gate, and that's a concerted effort to hide many of these out-of-place artifacts, or as the acronym UPAs suggests. These UPAs are located all across North America, from north to south, east to west. You find them all over the place. So I took it upon myself to chronicle them, and what I didn't use in the Sacred Places guides, I used in my esoteric guides, because some of them just would completely rewrite history as we know it.
Now, Frank Joseph, he says that the reason why it's covered up by historians and, as you said, the Smithsonian is because a lot of civilizations today would claim rights to the land, would be at least one of the reasons. What is the reason, from your perspective and your research, what is the reason why the Smithsonian is covering these things up?
Well, for one, as Frank suggested to you, it would have to be a complete rewrite of history. And then, two, there are many of these artifacts that are very inconvenient, and it would also show that the Native American people were far more sophisticated than we've given them credit for. And three, there are things like these giant skeletons that have been retrieved from some of the mound sites and even out here in Nevada in the Lake Lahoshan region that would just rewrite who we are as people on this planet, that we're then sharing it with another type of human that was much taller than we are. And you won't find that in any of the history books. But if you look at all the old newspaper clippings of the 19th century, when many of these mound sites in Ohio and elsewhere were dug up, they routinely report on finding 7, 8, 9 foot tall, giant, humanoid skeletons in some of these mounds. So what we're talking about is a complete rewrite of history that is so strange and out there to some of these stodgy historians. They just find it much more convenient to cover it all up and deny it.
Talk about your books a little bit, and then at the end, give us your website.
Sure. Well, I started by traveling around the world in the early 1990s, and when I came back, I published my first book, which is still in print, called World Stompers, A Global Travel Manifesto. Went through a couple other travel books, and then I developed the Sacred Places series, and I myself authored Sacred Places North America, Sacred Places Around the World, and Sacred Places Europe. And I commissioned another author to do Sacred Places of Goddess. And again, you can see all my books on cccpublishing.com. You can even order off the website. Those go through my office, and anytime they go through my office and they're one of my books, I'll sign a copy for the people and send it along.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. And I do also want to announce that Chad and I once a month are going to be part of a radio program called the Revolving Door Radio Program at ipbn-fm.com. We're going to be one of 4 different revolving sets of hosts on that program. Again, it's called the Revolving Door Radio Program, starting this month, September, and we hope that you can join us for that. Again, that's on ipbn-fm.com. Now, before we go, I wanted to just accentuate a couple of Bible verses and to use these as a template for our program as well as other programs and just life in general. And one of those is Isaiah 26:3. Many of you have heard this verse many times. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. And also Philippians 4:8, which is, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things." So these verses are talking about what our focus and our thoughts should be on throughout most of the day, throughout our lives. And so oftentimes we'll bring guests on and they will maybe have a dire outlook. And I may not share all of their beliefs, but we enjoy once in a while talking to guests that maybe have differing opinions. But Chad and I would like to say that if your focus is on Jesus Christ, then you will have the right mindset throughout anything that arises in these days. And the interesting thing about Philippians 4, verse 8 is, "Whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, good report, virtue, and praise." Now, when you think of Jesus Christ, he actually fits all of these definitions. So, whatsoever things are true, Jesus is truth. Whatsoever things are just, Jesus is just. He is pure. He is lovely, good report, virtuous. All of those things are found in Jesus Christ. And Chad and I are born-again Christians through the grace of God. Through his mercy, we have been able to experience his love. We've been able to experience joy that is beyond the news headlines. We've been able to walk with him, again, thanks and only through his grace. And so we always hope that in our show that you enjoy the hour that we're able to present something to you. We hope you're able to laugh, to be entertained, to maybe learn something. But ultimately, we know that anything good is through Jesus Christ. And that you can live in a day like this and experience all the things that are going on, all the turmoil and all of those things, and still live in joy and still have peace because of what he has done for you. And so if you don't know Jesus Christ, I would like to take the time to invite you to know him. And you can know him through his word. And you can know him by getting to know him in prayer through his word and in understanding him and in a relationship with him. I never want someone to be discouraged because they're listening to this program. And I always want to make sure that we take the time to once in a while step out of character, step out of the Bruce Collins from the Bruce Collins Show, and be the real Bruce Collins and say that Jesus Christ loves you. He wants to have a relationship with you. It's why he came to this planet and died. He died for your sins, and he wants to make things right in your life. And that offer stands for you tonight. Thank you so much for listening. Chad, I want to thank you for joining us this week and every week.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us here at the Bruce Collins Show, where you can find us every Friday night at midnight here at WWPR 1490 AM. Remember, God loves you. We do too. Don't give up.